Hello guys, and welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. My name is James, and today we're going to go ahead and sit down and talk to you guys about Reading's upcoming fixture away at Lincoln City. That's right, the first time in the league away from home since our 2-1 win over Wycombe. Reading's first win away from home in over a year. Hopefully we'll be able to continue that success in this fixture. Now, Reading come into this game off the back of a 1-1 draw at home to Oxford. Slightly disappointing. I mean, expecting a loss going in, but slightly disappointed not to win it after the first half we had, and really being able to negate Oxford from creating any chances. Now, I think a lot of positives did come out of the game defensively. Attackingly, there wasn't a lot of positives, but defensively, I think we'll be able to take some positives out of that one and bring it into this fixture. Now, as we always do, we take a look at the opposition. We go ahead and look at some of the statistics, who scored, strengths, weaknesses and style of play, and yeah, we've added a little other couple of bits into this one. Now, taking a look at the strengths for Lincoln City, you can see that creating long shot opportunities and stealing the ball from the opposition are their strengths. Now, that coincides with their weaknesses, as keeping possession of the ball, aerial duels, avoiding individual errors and defending set pieces are their weaknesses. Something to point out is not being able to keep the ball very well as being able to steal the possession from other teams. Shows me that they are a counter-attack inside that really will hit Reading on the break, and I think that's something that's going to be quite important for Reading in this game, is to make sure that they keep possession well, as Reading are predominantly a possession-based side, and don't really create anything when they've got a lot of the ball, especially away from home. Whereas hopefully in this one, Reading will be able to not have much of the ball and be able to counter-attack like they have recently. And when they counter-attack, Reading look good. Reading seem to create a lot of chances on the fast break, and hopefully that will be the case in this one, especially being away from home. Now, the style of play that Lincoln like to play is they take long shots, attack down the right, they play in their own half, and opponents can play aggressive against them. Something that's a little bit concerning is they're taking long shots part. Listen, David Button, as much as he has been solid all season, has conceded 4 out of the last 5 shots faced at him. Listen, he's not really been too great recently. Look, he might be alright when it comes to shot stopping, but recently he hasn't been, and his distribution, as always, has not been great. I think it might be time for Joel Pereira to potentially take that number 1 spot, or at least have an attempt to. Now, in terms of Lincoln's best performers, we can see their top goal scorers is Daniel Mandaru. He's top with 4 goals. He's then got 2 players with 3 underneath him, Ethan Hamilton and Hakib Adelakun. Apologies if I got that one wrong. Now, in terms of the best players for Lincoln City this season, you can see that sitting at a 6.86 is Alex Mitchell, the centre back. I don't know why I said central defensive. I think it's because it says DC. But the centre back. You've then got Ethan Aaron, who is a defensive midfielder. He's sitting at a 6.8. Alongside him at a 6.8 is Powdy O'Connor. You've then got Rico Hackett Fairchick. He then sits at a 6.79, and Ethan Hamilton is also at a 6.79. Now, the top 3 players for Lincoln are defensive players, and that's probably something key to note, and that is because of their expected goals. Now, I know a lot of the time people say expected goals aren't really reading too much into things, but listen, Lincoln have scored more goals than they've had expected goals, and to me that shows trends that they've not got lucky, but the luck potentially might be about to run out soon, especially if they're unable to score with chances that they're not creating. Now, in terms of expected goals at home this season, Lincoln actually sit 19th in the table, as you can see here. 1.19 expected goals for them so far this season. Now, in terms of actual goals, I think they're sitting at about 1.4, 1.5. So, riding their luck a little bit by taking chances, which is something that Reading need to learn to do. Now, in terms of their expected goals against as well, they sit at 6th in terms of the highest expected goals against, 1.31. So they actually are expected to concede more goals at home than they are to score. And that could be something that could be quite important for Reading in this fixture to try and take advantage of. As you can see, 15 goals scored at home compared to only 8 conceded, whereas they're expected to concede a lot more than they are to score. 12th in the home form table, 15 points picked up with 4 wins, 3 draws and 2 losses. Reading sitting just below them with 15 points also picked up with 4 wins, 3 draws but 4 losses. Now, Lincoln, though, they are in okay form. 9 points from the last 6 games, sitting them in 10th for the form table. Reading just below them in 14th. They've got 8 points out of the last 6 games. 2 wins, 3 draws and 1 loss for Lincoln, with 7 goals scored and only 4 conceded. It's safe to say that defence is something that's been quite strong for Lincoln City this season. Now, in terms of their actual results, they're actually unbeaten in their last 4, only losing to Stevenage 1-0 on the 18th of November. They did beat Leyton Orient away. They drew 2-2 at home to Barnsley. A 3-0 win away at Cambridge before a 0-0 draw against Wigan was their last fixture. Now listen, I think this will be a relatively tough game if we're being completely honest. It's not an easy place to go to is Lincoln, like we saw in the home form table, sitting kind of bang average just in the middle. Currently 9th in the table, 21 games played with 31 points picked up. To be honest, they've had a better season than Reading. Realistically, they've picked up, 10 more points than us in terms of what they've actually earned. You know, it will be a hard game, but going into this one, both teams sitting kind of on similar form. Reading know that a win's needed. I think really Reading could come out and get a result potentially. Now it's all about how Ruben Celes sets up, and it's all about how the tactics go. In terms of who I would start, like I said, Joel Pereira would be my number 1 for this fixture. Just would put Joel Pereira in goal. I think he's deserves it, especially with some of his performances in the cup. His distribution looks really good as well whenever he plays, and I think that's going to be important for Reading, especially if they're going to be on the counter-attack and or having a lot of possession in this game. Now in terms of the defence, I would keep the same back 4 that played against Oxford. Drill, Dorset, Nelson, Abbey, Tom Holmes and Andy Yeardom across that back 4. Dorset and Abbey and Yeardom all had poor games in my opinion against Oxford, obviously with 2 of them being hooked. That being Dorset and Abbey, and I think Tom Holmes really showed the strength that he has in that Oxford game. Right, swings and roundabouts, because obviously he lost his man for the goal. It was his fault for the Oxford goal, obviously lost the striker, but at the same time he cleared every single corner. Every corner that came into the Oxford box Tom Holmes cleared, and in the air was absolutely dominant against the Oxford. So I think he's got his liabilities, don't get me wrong, but I do think Tom Holmes and Nelson Abbey arguably might be the best partnership at the back Reading have got right now. For the midfield, Michael Craig will sit deep with Harvey Nibbs and Lewis Wing just in front of them. Obviously Nibbs will be more further forward than Wing, and Wing will be the box-to-box player, and Michael Craig will sit deep in that midfield. Then on the wings, it's more of a difficult one. Femi Aziz on the right-hand side I think is kind of a guaranteed starter, but on the left it is more open. You've got Ben Elliott, you've got Caelan Vickers, and you've got Paul McCarroll, all fighting for a chance to claim that left wing spot. Paul McCarroll is the only natural winger though there. That is a little bit concerning. Caelan Vickers didn't really do too well against Oxford. I thought he looked really out of his depth in that game. And Ben Elliott again is not a winger. He's more of a central player. If you play him in that Harvey Nibbs role, it's going to shine. Same with Caelan Vickers, playing in that Harvey Nibbs role, going to shine. But Harvey Nibbs is playing there and he's playing well, so you kind of have to keep him there, if that makes sense. I think I'm going to go with Vickers to start once again. Look, if it doesn't work out this time, it's time to rotate him again, and Ben Elliott gets a couple of games. McCarroll had a couple, didn't work out. Vickers gets a couple. If it doesn't work out, put Ben Elliott in there. Finally, up front, it'll be Sam Smith. I think that's kind of natural. It's kind of obvious that Sam Smith will be the starter. Another goal on Tuesday, and yeah, safe to say he enjoyed that one. Now, in terms of a score prediction, I think it's going to be a pretty open game. I think it's actually going to be a pretty high-scoring game as well. So I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I think the confidence that Reading will have going into this game will be a little bit more than what they've had recently. When you actually take a look at Reading's results for this season and you take a look at when they've actually lost games, I think Reading have been quite unlucky. Realistically, 2-0 up against Portsmouth, should have really held on. Lost in the last minute to Fleetwood, should we have really lost that game? Especially penalty was denied, Harley Dean hits the post. A 2-1 loss to Leyton Orient, a 90th minute mistake by David Button. A 3-1 loss to Northampton, again mistake by David Button for arguably all 3 goals. 3-2 loss against Shrewsbury, 2 goals conceded in the last minute, and then a 3-1 loss against Barnsley recently, 2 goals conceded late on. I think Reading should be in a better position where they actually are. I think we've just really... It's been our fault for the goals, but at the same time, I think we've been really unlucky. So I think concentration levels need to be high, and Reading will get something out of this game. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw, and yeah, we'll come home happy with a point. That's going to be it for this video today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been James, and we'll hope to see you all again very soon. If there's any news in between now and Saturday, we'll bring that. If not, it'll be the review from the Lincoln game. Thanks for watching, guys. I've been James. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.